What is your weight? What? What is that? Your weighing mechanism? That's what I've been hearing. Can you see my
We have many.
I'm gonna go. That's what I'm gonna do. Anytime someone makes a joke to me, I'm really
You
obnoxious.
usually did a laugh when I was trying to tell Sandy the joke in the ABS semifinal, or what was it? Do you remember that?
The one you were doing?
No, I was doing. What were we watching? No, was it? I don't remember.
It's in vague.
Oh, it was the game.
I don't know what it was.
Do you remember that?
I do remember. Is it?
And I can't even say, right?
I couldn't even say it.
Yeah. Very quiet, very sweet.
You're right.
That's not that funny.
Because sometimes
So,
yes.
Yeah, very.
No matter how much we wish it likes us.
Yes. And then Dr. Mark.
Because.
Oh, yeah.
But now watching the
It's the exact same.
Andrew.
Let it die.
Let it die. Oh, yeah.
Are you cool with the forest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of so funny. That's gotta be a problem. That's gotta be a compliment. They said, look.
And then I,
They raised it to sort of non-empire, and then they were sure.
Do you know what it is?
Alright.
I think it's Jason. Second to last is Jason. Yeah. I don't want violating conservation active settings. Bringing down, what's the last? Wait, what?
No, I wouldn't.
You're right. You don't have much of it.
Well, I think
Exactly. How do you walk it out?
Okay.
I need to watch you something.
But you chose the middle one.
Hula is like relax.
I pulled it off because it's coming loose and not, so I need to get it.
I love watching this guy running for real times. Oh, I'm just like.
I know we got like a free and
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so very much for being here for night 2 of our pre-national showcase for the Alabama Forensic Council, our competitive speech and debate program here at the University of Alabama. If you're all here for extra credit, wonderful. If you're all here just for the love of speech and debate, fantastic. If you're a part of my team and you have to be here, thank you for being here too. Tonight, we're going to have a series of performances across 4 different genres. We'll have oral interpretation of literature, we'll have public address, limited preparation speaking, and we'll also have a debate. First off, though, we're going to start with hopefully a fun event. It's called duo interpretation. So Jaden and Maggie will be standing side by side performing. They will not look at each other or touch one another, as is the rules of the event. But they will be portraying multiple characters, personas, personalities throughout. So please give a warm welcome to Jaden Kennedy and Maggie Leach.
Five, 6, 7, 8.
Growing up, I had always wanted to pursue cheerleading. So this week, I'm going to fulfill one of my lifelong dreams by stepping out onto the mat and auditioning for one of the top cheer teams in the country.
I feel like I know where you are, but let's see where you are. A toe touch. You said you knew that word?
Yeah, and 5, 6, 7, 8.
Uh-huh. 5, 6, 7, 8. That was really good. I was actually really impressed.
I have no idea what that looks like.
Every cheerleader knows that cheerleading is a lifestyle.
There is so much more to it than time spent out on the mat or on the sidelines.
It can be easy to get caught up in the nerves, stress, and drama. But that takes away so much from the incredible experience of cheerleading. The age-old vision that people have of cheerleaders is on the sideline of the sport. They're not the sport. They're the sideline attraction there to leave the crowd and look pretty. But cheerleading has evolved tremendously since its inception.
It's a display of athleticism. It's like the best of dance with the best of gymnastics with the best of the circus. It's an incredible sport.
They depend on you for your love. They depend on you for your strength. They depend on you for your...
trust. Cheerleading isn't just the skills. It's being able to command a stadium. To look at you.
Performance is demanding. With the popularity of Netflix's hit docuseries Cheer, audiences were able to look beyond the pom-poms and smiles to better understand the demands of the sport.
A June 2022 article published in Journal Frontiers in Psychology explains that overall, the community fostered by competitive collegiate cheerleading benefited the performers and athletes' well-being.
However, a 2010 article published in the Text and Performance Quarterly clarifies that the expectations for performers to exude positive energy creates gaps between genuine emotion and the demands of spirit and performance spaces.
Through the lens of cheerleading, we can examine performance in spaces like these and the mental strain that comes with putting on a spirited and polished show.
So, using the pros 5 Habits of Happy Cheerleaders by OmniCheer, the drama Awesomeness TV Cheerleaders, the Netflix docuseries Cheer, and I Joined the #1 cheer team in the US by Michelle Carr.
With the poetry Ode to Competitive Cheerleading and the show Must Go On by Brandon Kagi-Young, an exploration
Examining the benefits of performance.
and the demands of going full out.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Cheerleading is 3 sports all in one. We have the tumbling, which is like gymnastics.
We have the dancing.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
We have the powerlifting. 1, 2. 1, 2. The motivating sounds of parents and team members screaming our names, encouraging us to hit this round. My name is Robert Siena, and I have been cheering for 9 years. I'm from Chester, Virginia, which is on the other side of the country. I put all my stuff in the car, and I drove all the way here. I mean, cheerleading, it's my life. It's everything to me.
My name is Andrea, and I'm the office manager. I oversee everything that goes on in the gym.
I have been here for 4 days, and I've had 1 practice. And that practice was death. Period.
It'll get easier, I promise. No, it won't.
It was like military training. I thought I was going to pass out and vomit.
Look, on this team you work, there is no playing around
Because you are depended on.
They depend on your eyes, just as you depend on theirs,
They depend on your smile.
just as you beg for theirs.
To this day, participants are expected to show spirit at all times, whether they are performing, watching others perform, or receiving evaluations from instructors.
Even at competition, squads must perform spirit convincingly, despite the lack of sports teams to cheer for.
Judges look for
smiles,
eye contact,
expressions of joy and enthusiasm, and constant motion and energy.
I'm probably the worst performer in all of cheerleading history. Whenever I'm at practice, I'm always smiling through the whole thing. It's a fake smile because I'm always so focused on what I'm doing.
Happy cheerleaders see obstacles as a challenge, not a wall they can't get through.
And other people on the team have just like this natural beauty and they light up when they do stuff.
It can be easy to get offended and get defensive. Your feelings might be hurt.
You work so hard your entire life for a single moment. But some people never get that moment. You have to remember though, cheerleading is still subjective. And even if you hit, you may not win.
Happy cheerleaders see obstacles as a challenge, not a wall they can't get through.
And whenever they throw a skill at practice, it's like 5 billion times better. And I'm just like the awkward little turtle in the background. The applause assist. This is a feeling of crashing, of colliding into the past, falling into dirt. You think and think and think. You pray for faith in yourself and in others.
You seek acceptance in their eyes.
5, 6, 7, 8. Oh!
I take on the mom to pretty much everyone here, so anyone, when you need anything, you can come and talk to me.
I have to get this routine. If I don't, I fail.
We try to build them up as much as possible, physically and mentally. But sometimes kids can't handle that form of pressure.
The anticipation rises, there is no other feeling.
Like having your team's name called last, placing first. If I mess up,
If I get cut,
my
my
dream
dream
ends. The motive.
shot dead, your hope crushed beneath the boot, your love twisted and contorted, your composure
broken. The motivating sounds of parents and team members screaming our names, encouraging us to hit this round.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Robbie, do you need water? Robbie, you have to take a breath. Robbie, take the breath. Take it, it's okay. Take it in. Let it out. Take another breath. It's okay. Let it out. Robbie, you have to tell me where it hurts.
Right in here.
Okay, did you tear a muscle?
No. I miss my family. I miss everything. Is this worth it?
Five, six, seven, 8.
Why sit on earth while the cosmos call your name?
Why try to be what others want, but instead come out as they always expect? But the show must go on.
Thank you both so much. Let's see if our next speaker is So our team attends and competes at multiple national tournaments throughout the season. Just last week, during spring break, our team competed in Pennsylvania, where Isaac was crowned national champion of extemporaneous speaking. The way extemporaneous speaking works is that Isaac had no idea what he was going to talk about half an hour ago. He was provided with a prompt and then given 30 minutes to put together his thoughts and hopefully give what we'll see as a national championship speech. So I will be providing Isaac with his time signals. Take it away. Standard.
Following violations of international law and his subsequent arrests, Romanian top G Andrew Tate needs to change his name to bottom G. He's inspired millions of young men to accept misogynistic rhetoric that opposes women. And following an unfortunate run-in with Greta Thunberg, he was exposed for running a human sex trafficking ring. Romanian authorities investigated him and arrested him on charges of both rape and sex trafficking. And they've been extending the detention consistently. As The Guardian explains 1 month ago, they recently extended it by 30 days. And just an hour ago, they extended it by another month. But considering former misogynist Andrew Tate's sexist rhetoric didn't work for him, and he has to go back to the drawing board, it's critical that we answer today's question. What effect will the arrest of Andrew Tate have on gender-based violence? To which the answer is clearly forcing the violence underground in 3 ways. First, because overt sexism is condemned. Second, because his manifesto is deeply rooted. And finally, because Romanian sex rings have been exposed. Andrew Tate's arrest signaled to his supporters that his theories and rhetoric were condemned by governments across the world, which is why the first reason why his arrest is going to signal that his supporters need to go underground is because overt sexism has been condemned. Andrew Tate has been referred to as the most sexist man in the world, as Education Week of February 2nd of 2023 explains. He claims women can't drive, compared them to dogs, and should be used as pawns for men to make money. Now, young men love this rhetoric, not because they agree with the implicit objectification of women, but because it signals a new way of life they can embrace. But Andrew being arrested functions the same way as Andrew being banned. As the January 26, 2023 DMARC explains, when he became the most banned man on the internet, his supporters were not able to overtly support him, having to go underground instead, making it clear that the first reason why Andrew Tate's arrest is going to signal to his supporters that they need to go underground is because overt sexism has been condemned. But it's also critical that we recognize the flip side of overt sexism, or the alternative, his manifesto, which is deeply rooted in the minds of men's psyche. Young men love Andrew Tate. As The Guardian explains on March 9th of 2023, he has a three-pronged approach to life. He argues young men need to start by ascertaining money, turning that money into power, and using that power to win women. This alternative lifestyle has been referred to by pundits as a Sigma male grind set. But Andrew Tate doesn't even follow it. Considering he made his money based on the exploitation of women's labor in Romania, he flipped it, starting with women, to ascertain money and then garner power and influence. But despite his inconsistencies and sexist rhetoric, his fans don't care that he's been arrested because they think sexism is implicit. As Insider on January 18th of 2023 explains, following Andrew Tate's arrest, protesters swarmed the capital of Greece, Athens, in support, demanding that he be released. Similar protests happened across the world. But in the United States, following the months after his arrest, people started speaking out against him, specifically because they realized that by adopting his manifesto into their subtle interactions with people throughout their lives, they would be able to benefit from the ideas that he espoused without any of the unfriendly connotations. So it's clear that the second reason why Andrew Tate's arrest is going to force his supporters underground is because his manifesto is deeply rooted in men's psyches. Finally, and arguably most critically, it's easy to ignore the consequences of the people that Andrew Tate exploited in favor of ramifications that we experience. The third major effect of Andrew Tate's arrest is that Romanian sex rings, which are massive, have been exposed. NPR on June 16th of 2023 explains, Andrew Tate was known for his consolidation of wealth. When Romanian authorities searched his apartment, they found $3.9 million worth of assets in the form of cars, watches, and real property. Now, Romanian authorities were able to seize that, but his success was only due to the sex trafficking ring that he had created and a sexist pyramid scheme on TikTok. But his arrest forces those Romanian sex rings underground. As the January 12th, 2023 New York Post explains, the Directorate for the Investigation of Organized Crime and Terrorism in Romania, appropriately titled DICAT, has searched 7 properties following the arrest of Andrew Tate, seizing tens of millions of dollars of assets of sex traffickers. Look, Andrew Tate's arrest made sex trafficking ring, but by arresting him, the biggest personality, it signals to other sex trafficking rings in Romania that they need to stop, or at least find more creative ways to do it. Which is why the third reason why Why Andrew Tate's arrest is going to force his supporters and ideology underground is because Romanian sex trafficking rings, the way he made his money, were exposed. So, and returning to today's question, what effect will the arrest of Andrew Tate have on gender-based violence? The answer was clear. It's going to force the violence underground in 3 ways. First, because his overt sexism has been condemned. Second, his manifesto is deeply rooted. And finally, Romanian sex rings, the source of his wealth, have been exposed. So Top G in prison may have to rename himself. But he also needs to change his strategies for influencing the minds of men around the world.
Thank you so much, Isaac. So now we've seen oral interpretation of literature and limited preparation speaking. Now we're going to shift gears to public address. Unlike Isaac, Rebecca has memorized this speech and has had time to prepare it beforehand. Rebecca will now be offering her informative speech. Take it away.
And before I begin, I would like to issue a brief content warning. There are mentions of suicide, so if at any point you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to leave. When Christine Weston Chandler, a trans YouTuber, posted her original comic series in 2007, she had no idea she would become the most documented person in internet history. The Farm on January 2nd, 2023 explains. She caught the attention of an online forum now known as Kiwi Farms. At its height, Kiwi Farms had 16,000 users with the same goal: make their targets live in fear. Forward on September 13th, 2022 reports. The site featured forum threads thousands of pages long, per target, and a kill count to tally how many people the site had hounded into suicide. The site was shut down in September of 2022. However, the damages it has caused the internet community is irrevocable, and its takedowns brought to light the limitations of internet infrastructure. Considering it was widely regarded as the worst place on the internet, with over 9 million posts, let's look at how they operated, their shutdowns, and implications. Because terrible people are still on the internet, and victims are still being watched, and their lives, online and off, will never be the same. The majority of Kiwi Farm users were between the ages of 18 and 34, and 73% identified as male, according to SimilarWeb in July of 2022. Let's look at how Kiwi Farm started and who they targeted. First, in 2013, Joshua Moon, known as Null on the site, created Quickie Forum as a central location to harass Christine Chandler. But the site went beyond trolling. Members extensively documented and discussed every intimate detail of Chandler's life. And according to New York Magazine on July 19, 2016, even pretended to be Chandler's friends and romantic partners in order to get more embarrassing content for their site. Chandler was deemed the first lol cow, or someone that can be milked for laughs. But she certainly wasn't the last. The Guardian on September 8, 2022 explains. In 2015, Quickie Forum rebranded to Kiwi Farms and committed to full-time harassment. The Guardian furthers, the ideology of the site was, quote, far-right, white supremacist, radically transphobic, or simply nihilistic and nasty. If deemed a worthy target, you were subject to their torment. Next, Kiwi Farms didn't pick just anyone to target. Drop Kiwi Farms explains. Members would collect hundreds of pages of data on an individual and send it to the Prospering Ground to be analyzed using specific criteria. They created their own scientific method, analyzing a potential target's job, art, behavior, and how funny their reaction would be to site-wide harassment. Members would then be deemed a lol cow or another site-originated epithet, and were exclusively women, autistic people, and members of the LGBTQ plus community. The aforementioned New York Magazine explains, their deep and abiding scorn for people with mental illnesses leads them to classify and target anyone who appears as vulnerable as mentally ill. Kiwi farmers justified their atrocities by labeling their targets as crazy in the name of ableism and transphobia. While the site had a strong far-right ideology, their only allegiance was to chaos. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was swatted by Kiwi Farms and told Newsmax on August 24, 2022, "Isn't it concerning that such a website exists? That site needs to be taken down." That might be the least controversial thing MTG has ever said. Let's look at the previous shutdown and their eventual demise. First, early on, the domain bounced from host to host until it settled under DreamHost from 2013 to 2021. Joshua Moon explains, "It was the only company to provide basic internet resources without senseless moderation." What they weren't moderating? Harassment that led Julie Terryberry to take her own life in 2016, and Chloe Segal to set herself on fire in 2018. In 2019, the site republished a video and manifesto of the shooter from the Christchurch mosque shootings. Moon refused to cooperate with police, leading the entire country of New Zealand to block the site. In 2021, software developer Near offered Moon $125,000 to stop their harassment. Moon refused, and Near took their own life, citing Kiwi Farms' provocation as the breaking point. The Washington Post on September 3rd, 2021 reports, DreamHost dropped Kiwi Farms shortly after. But the death of the site was a short-lived victory, because it was soon picked up by Cloudflare. Next, its most recent demise. When Clara Sorrenti awoke to police officers sent by Kiwi Farms pointing assault rifles at her, she started the initiative Drop Kiwi Farms in August of 2022, targeting Cloudflare. Wired, September 8, 2022 explains, historically, Cloudflare had been reluctant to drop even neo-Nazi sites, but the campaign pushed it into the mainstream line. Unfortunately, Kiwi Farms were still able to track Sorrenti down, send pizzas to her dead name, and swat her again. She couldn't escape. Bigoted things. We won't terminate our services either. However, on September 3rd, 2022, Cloudflare reversed their statement and dropped Kiwi Farms. 9 years, thousands targeted, and 3 deaths later, the site now lives in the shadows, but its users live in broad daylight. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act protects social media sites from being sued for users' posts. Widely known as the law protecting free speech on the internet, Section 230 essentially protected Kiwi Farms from ever being held responsible for users' harassment. But this leaves activists in limbo, revealing 2 implications: the deplatforming double bind and Kiwi Farms protectors. First, it's become nearly impossible for victims of online harassment to deplatform their abusers. Caitlin Burns, a Kiwi Farms target, told MSNBC on September 10, 2022, "No other force in the history of my life restricted my free speech as much as Kiwi Farms did." Boss, who successfully took down the revenge porn site is anyoneout.com, told The Hill on September 15, 2022, "People can get very angry when they're silenced, making them more ferocious in their views." Clara Sorrenti risked. Cloudflare experienced a 50% increase in demand when the pandemic shifted life online, and now provides services to over 20% of the internet. But their free speech absolutist ideology and vague regulations leaves them prey to public opinion. Cloudflare only dropped Kiwi Farms because of public pressure, but their job is security, not moderation. Even then, Ars Technica on September 8, 2022 explains, the potential effectiveness of legislation blocking doxing and harassment is unclear. It poses the question, if tech companies, site moderators, and users aren't responsible for suicides explicitly citing online harassment, then who is? After analyzing the operations, shutdowns, and implications of kiwi farms, we've only scratched the surface of the internet's dark side. Clara Sorrenti on September 5th, 2022 states, "What we've accomplished in such a short time has never been done in the entire history of the internet. But who knows if we'll need to do it again."
Thank you so much, Rebecca. So we have a few more speeches ahead of us, but our final speakers this evening will be a debate, which you all get to help out with. Andrew was so kind in writing up our resolutions up here. So you all get to vote on what you would actually like to hear them debate on. So we have 4 different topics. Violating copyright law is an act of civil disobedience. The most recent Federal Reserve hike will send the U.S. economy into recession. The Organization of American States should allow Cuba full membership status, or in contemporary society, aesthetics is less relevant than ethics. So we'll do this a good old-fashioned way, raising your hands of which ones you'd like. Those who would like to hear about number 1. Crickets. Number 2. Okay, we have some people that are interested in the economy. Wonderful. Number 3. More popular. Number 4. Oh, we have a winner chicken dinner. All righty. So Andrew Schmidt and Marky Whitney are going to go prepare for their debates, and we'll go from there. We'll welcome them back in here in a little bit. In the meantime, we're now going to shift our gears back to oral interpretation of literature with Blake Eversman, who will be performing a program of oral interpretation. What Blake is going to be doing is weaving together works of prose, poetry, and drama around a central theme. Please welcome Blake. Now you can clap.
Opening scene. I walk into frame carrying a 6-pack of Rockstar Recovery energy drinks. Because I almost died on tour in spring and now I am desperate to know what recovery tastes like. So I drink all 6. Then neckbeard Jesus. Piston kicks my limbs into gear. I am Booster Gold. And I am the greatest hero you've never heard of. And you are Sanctuary. You help heroes who have seen too much. So, okay, I'm here, I'm talking, I'm ready. There is a right way and a wrong way to play. The Incredible Hulk. And I always knew the right way. I studied that show like an owner's manual. I was grounded twice for cutting rips into my shirts to show where my muscles had busted through. I even learned how to run in slow motion. So when my transformation started, they didn't scare me. On May 30th, 2022, Disney Plus's Moon Knight premiered with astounding praise. Although this isn't the first time that mental illness has been portrayed in media, this is one of the first times that mental illness hasn't been associated with the antagonist. Although the show represents a step in the right direction, a fundamental issue still remains. The association of mental illness with the supernatural or the paranormal, when the primary form of representation for young audiences, or superheroes in sci-fi and fantasy settings, it perpetuates the idea that mental illness is something other than human. And in reality, it's what makes us human. So through the poetry, Summer of Mania by R.J. Walker, Puny Human by Doc Lumen, and In Which I Do Not Fear Harvey Dent by Brenda Twigg by Austin Michael, and the comic book series, Heroes in Crisis by Tom King. The program, because mental illness isn't a page turner. The best part of having superpowers is that most of the time, people don't even know you have them. Like when Peter Parker goes paintballing, people think he's a really awesome paintballer, and he totally gets away with using his spidey senses. And on the days that I get out of bed and eat 3 meals, none of which are Hot Pockets, people can't tell that right then. I am using my superpowers, got to explosive diarrhea. From all the caffeine. This is not what recovery is supposed to feel like. It's disgusting and messy. And neckbeard Jesus is laughing in the stall next to me. Cut to this last day of summer. I don't know why I am yelling something. Something has probably hurt me. And that thing is probably me. Many issues of Moon Knight comics involve the hero not only battling psychopathic villains, but his own psyche. His struggle to both remain sane and save the innocent makes for some very compelling stories. There are a lot of things that are okay when you were a kid that stop being okay when you get older. Like telling your adult employer that you can't come into work this week because you physically can't stop crying and you don't get to go to that job anymore. I don't need therapy to tell. I have 2 identities. Clark was a clumsy, Superman was reliable. But if I adjusted each to be further away from me, then which one was I? God, I never talk about it like this. I can't. I guess to be a hero, you have to be perfect. This isn't perfect. Cut to I don't know. Sometimes I'm doing so much I don't know where I am or what time it is. All I can do is focus on whatever is in front of me. And sometimes my friends think I hate them because all I can do is stare at my fucking hands. Known for his volatility, Hank Pym has a hard time controlling his temper. One time, he even hit his wife, Janet. This is all due to Hank's mental illness. Bipolar disorder. I was there to recover. Maybe recover isn't the best word. I was there to stop hiding. Whatever the opposite of hiding was, I was alone, and Sanctuary kept telling me I wasn't that. Whatever I was going through, a lot of others go through. Who are all heroes, who are all struggling. Cut to it's July. And I'm a tree, growing from the stump of another tree, dreaming of forest fires and old birds' nests. Cut to this fucking mania. Like an electric sun automating all of my bad decisions, making my mistakes seem so efficient. There is a reason that panic attacks are not called panic fair fights. They are the worst kind of villain, creeping in unnoticed until you can't imagine any superpower that could ever overcome them, until you have to explain to the doctor that it's not that I have a mental illness, it's just that I didn't believe it. I felt like this pain can't be in others or else I'd see it on them. But Sanctuary is anonymous. That's what it said. The data would be broken into 1 billion pieces and would take forever to piece back together. It took the fastest man in the world 10 seconds. In an instant, I experienced the totality of 1,000 heroes in crisis. And for an instant, I wasn't alone. It broke me. I have another person living inside me, and he is big and he's mean and he's stronger than I am. I stay close to the exit when I hear the creature coming. I put as much distance as I can between me and any goddamn fool who might try to get in the way. This is how I show that I love you. This is the best part of being Kudu's favorite superhero is the Hulk. You don't have to find anyone else to play with you. Cut to closing scene. It's the last day of summer, and I am about to make the same terrible mistake again and again and again and again and again and again. Look at this poem. All cut up like last year's summer in an effort to survive the oncoming winter. But if you opened it, it would look just like snow.
Thank you so much, Blake. So now we're going to shift gears back to limited preparation. Alex Brubaker will be speaking on, doing an impromptu speech in which he has no idea what he's going to talk about, but you all are going to help us decide that. So he has 7 minutes in total to both construct and deliver his speech. Alex, if you wouldn't mind getting out of here. I'll invite you back in a little bit. So, typically our prompts are quotations of some sort. They can be anything from Ralph Waldo Emerson to last night we had Megan Thee Stallion. So if you all have any quotations or any lyrics that you would like for Alex to speak on this evening. Yes.
I need new haters, the old ones became my fans.
So we have one on the table. I need new haters. My old ones became my fans. Who's that by? Zlatan. Zlatan. Okay, we've got one. Okay.
I got that dog in me. Alex Brubaker.
So I got that dog in me. Cool. Another one. We need at least one more here.
How about? I don't do things for the response or controversy. I just live my life. Rihanna.
Look at that. Rihanna coming in to save the day. Okay, so we have 3 options on the table here. We have.
I need new fans, my old ones. No, I need new haters, my old ones became my fans.
I need new haters. My old ones became my fans.
I got that dog in me.
I got that dog in me. And.
I don't do things for the response or controversy. I just live my life.
Fantastic. So again, you all are really good at voting. So how many would we like to talk about the fans? Because all the haters became the fans. We got 1. How many for about Riri? Anybody for Riri? Okay. All right. So I have to write this now. Solid.
DAWG.
That's what I figured.
I think there's an A before the first root.
One more.
Okay. I will welcome Alex then, and we'll begin.
All right, Alex. Come down this way.
All right, so as you enter, stay facing this way for now.
Yeah.
So we've written the quotation on the board.
Gotta guide me to the chair.
Okay. So then, whenever you turn around, I'll begin your 15-second grace. I'll let you know when your 15-second grace have elapsed, and I'll give you 30-second verbals for your prep.
Cool.
Count me down from 5 minutes left, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute left. This is my 30, 15. You do the last 5.
Cool.
All right, Alex Brubaker.
Okay.
That's 15. Prep begins.
Of course it is.
Seconds. One minute.
At 6'9", 420 pounds, international Icelandic basketball player Hafþór Bjornsson was a beast. That wasn't until 2009 when he shattered both his ankles. Doctors said he would never play basketball ever again. But that didn't let him stop him from finding new athletic pursuits, like professional strongman, where he went on to deadlift 501 kilos. It's this idea of not letting anything stop you, which brings us to our quotation today. I got that dog in me. What our author, who I'm guessing is Rebecca, is trying to say is that dog in you is really self-resiliency. And what we all have to do is find the dog in all of us. But we can understand how to find that dog in you through 2 key areas. First, finding the dog through taking risks. And secondly, using that dog to be resourceful. Now, if you don't know how much 501 kilos is, don't worry. Imagine 501 kilos worth of bricks. That's at least, it's a lot of bricks. But if anyone has that dog in him, it's Hafþór Bjornsson. Because after shattering both your ankles, finding the resiliency to go on to a different sport takes another level of having that dog in you. But we can understand how you need to find that dog through taking risks through 2 key examples. Joshua Allen Harris, trash artist, and Costco hot dogs. But first,
Joshua Allen Harris was an artist who grew up in Kansas, but he knew if he was going to be successful, he couldn't do it on the Kansas art scene. So he took a risk, and he moved to an infamously difficult art scene, New York City. To find that dog, he took a substantial risk with his art career. But what did he do when he got there? He found trash. Joshua Allen Harris scoured the streets, anywhere he could find garbage, dumpsters, side streets, anywhere. And he'd use that garbage to construct sculptures. And then he would place those sculptures over subway vents. And when subways would pass through, it would blow air into the sculptures, blowing them up for anyone to see. But we can see how you need to find that dog in you through taking risks through an area. Costco hot dogs. Since 1989, the $1.50 Costco hot dog has been a staple of the industry. That wasn't until the early 2000s when they thought of repealing the entree because it wasn't making them any money. But when CEO at the time, Jim Seigel, found out they were planning to revoke the hot dog, he said, and I quote, "If you change the price of that hot dog, I will fucking kill you." Jim Seigel found that dog in him through taking a risk and protecting the hot dog he loved so much, showing that if you're going to find that dog in you, you got to take some risks. Halfthor Bjornsson is not averse to risk taking. If you want to find him anywhere, look on HBO, where you can find him on season 4 of Game of Thrones as Halfthor the Mountain Bjornsson. But what Halfthor shows us is that once you've found that dog, you have to use it to be resourceful, even in the little things. We can see how once you found your dog, you have to be resourceful through 2 key examples. First, AI dessert. And second, the Savannah Bananas. But first, in 2019, the New Yorker posted an article about a Japanese dessert buffet. Essentially, patrons would go to the buffet and grab a dessert and then slide it under a scanner. The scanner would then tell them what they had was either a cake, bear claw, or bagel. It could essentially distinguish any kind of dessert. But in 2020, the dessert buffet started to go under. But what did they do? They chose to be resourceful. Instead of abandoning their AI, they found new resources for it. Distinguishing cancer cells. They realized that their simple dessert scanner could tell the difference between a benign and cancerous tumor. The creator of the AI states, "It's the same thing as distinguishing different pieces of bread. The AI just knows." By choosing to be resourceful and having that dog in them, they realized that they couldn't abandon their AI, but find a new way to use it. We can understand how once you found that dog, you have to be resourceful through the Savannah Bananas. In 2015, a minor league baseball team emerged on the stage, the Savannah Bananas, based out of Savannah, Georgia. But once they bought their team, they cut their corporate contracts. Why? Because they wanted to make baseball a community experience, not a corporate one. The Savannah Bananas intentionally knew that they were self-reliant and they didn't need corporate sponsors. And by doing this and recognizing that they did in fact have that dog in them, they can make baseball a more enjoyable experience for the entire community. Returning to today's quotation, "I got that dog in me." We understood that having that dog in you is developing the resources to be self-reliant. And we understood this through 2 key examples. First, finding that dog in you through taking risks, where we talked about Joshua Allen Harris, a trash artist. And second, $1.50 Costco hot dogs. And then we understood that once you found that dog in you, you have to use those skills of self-resiliency to find the resourcefulness in everyday things, where we talked about AI dessert and the Savannah Bananas. So, once you've truly discovered that you have that dog in you, you have to use that dog to not only benefit yourself, but those around you.
Thank you, Alex. Clearly, you helped everyone find the dogs in that. Next up, we'll be changing back over to oral interpretation of literature with prose interpretation. Take it away, Jason Park.
So I'm sitting in the hospital waiting room with Aunt Fran and Aunt Nina. A cup of coffee steams next to my foot, but I can't seem to reach it. Well, my aunts don't give a fuck. They're amazed that I bought it, amazed that I can even think of coffee at a time like this. My mother, she suffered a heart attack this morning. The doctor just told us her heart won't last much longer. She needs a new heart, a donor. And my aunts have just looked at me. Wait, hold on. Are you crazy? My heart? And then my aunts start crying. Oh, what kind of son are you? Your own flesh and blood. Your mother worked herself to the bone for you, and the first time your mother needs you, you turn your back on her. Well, what about me? What happens to me? I need my heart, Fran! You want me to die so my mother can live? Oh, it's impossible to argue with them. They see no reason why I shouldn't just give away my heart to save my mother's life. Emotional abuse has pervasive and damaging effects and can be seen in an untold number of families. Loved ones perpetuate the message that we should be desperate for their approval, that we should give in to their needs and expectations before taking care of our own. Safe Horizon, a victim services nonprofit, explains emotional abuse is hard to identify in families because no one can see its effects like they can with a bruise, cut, or scar. In her science fiction piece, author Judy Budnitz explores how emotional abuse can affect someone's psyche, ultimately arguing we should never feel compelled to give away every piece of ourselves. Guilt by Judy Budnitz. A nurse leads us to the intensive care unit where my mother is lying attached to machines. She looks worse. You can see the veins and tendons on her neck, so delicate, so close to the surface you could just snip them with scissors. She's young for a heart attack, I guess, but she's still got many years to go, hardly on the verge of death. Hey, Mom, it's me. Just wanted to tell you, I'm considering it. Oh, really? Really? I am. I just want to find out a little more about it before I decide, that's all. Well, it's not as simple as changing a car battery or something. I looked down at my mother's feet, motionless. I drive home, go up to my apartment, turn on the lights. I take a shower and try to shave, but oh, my body doesn't want to work properly. When I look down, I look strange and alien. You know, I remember a time when I was small and she hugged my head to her. My ear pressed into her chest and I could hear all the churning, gurgling workings within. Usually she'd call in the evenings to tell me about, I don't know, the weather or what TV program she's been watching. But not tonight. All along, I thought I'd publish a book. You know, lots of books get recognition, earn lots of money, support my mother in style in her old age. Give her gorgeous grandchildren. I thought that was the way to pay her back everything I owe her. But now it looks like I have to pay my debts with my heart instead. Thanks, Fran. Oh, you know what? I'm almost glad. Because I'll just give her a piece of muscle, and then I'll be free of her forever. All my debts paid. Just one quick operation will be easier than struggling for the rest of my life to do back to her all these things she thinks she's done for me. I'll do it. I'll do it. Give her my heart. The doctor gives me a long, steady look, and he gets to work. When I tell my mother the news, she cries a little. And she smiles. And my aunts, they cry and they clutch my arms. They say they doubted me, but they never will again. What a good son, they keep saying. So I kiss my mother's cheek. I hop on the stretcher, they wheel me out. They sedate me, strip me, shave me. And then they put the mask on and knock me out good. It's like I'm falling down a deep well. And the circle of daylight above me grows smaller and smaller and smaller, until it's a tiny white bird swooping and fluttering against a vast night sky. It's the doctor. My mother's not doing so well. The heart doesn't fit as well as they thought. It's a bit too small, he says. And then Fran and Nina come back. I got to go tell them. But their faces look flushed, like they already know what I'm about to say. They start screaming at me. How could you, giving your mother a bad heart? She's dying. Your mother's dying, all because of you. Fran and Nina no longer visit. For a long time, no one comes. I know without anyone telling me, my mother is dead. It's my heart. I know. I lie there listening to the emptiness in my chest like wind wailing through canyons. What a good son I was.
You right? just a few more minutes, we'll have our debaters back in here. In the meantime, feel free to mingle, talk with each other. We'll be right back.
Oh, you didn't say that. I didn't say
it.
You say it all the time. I didn't say that. Okay, I said
What I know I'm trying to say. In perfect timing. Okay, no problem. We'll wait for them just a second. You both have these desks.
I feel like these.
We'll wait till our audience gets back and we'll get started.
Right now?
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started then with Andrew Schness and Marky Whitney.
Before I begin, we've kind of condensed our traditional format of debate for y'all's benefit. The way this is going to go is I will give my 4-minute speech. Marky will question me for a minute. She will give a 4-minute speech. I will question her, and then I will give a 2-minute rebuttal to her speech. She will give her concluding 4-minute speech. I will give another 2 minutes rebuttal to conclude. We'll just kind of pick it up as it goes along. But thank you all for being here. And with that, 4 minutes on the clock. We'll go ahead and begin. So again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. It means a lot to both me and the team. I'm excited to dive into today's debate. I state an affirmation of the resolution. In contemporary society, aesthetics is less relevant than ethics. So right off the bat, what are we talking about here? Let me offer some definitions. This is all coming from the Oxford English Dictionary, but I'm also going to be pulling from a few philosophy journals because these two ideas are philosophical in nature. Beginning with aesthetics, a set of principles concerned with the nature and appreciation of beauty, specifically in a sensual sense. Relevant, connected to or appropriate to what is being done or considered. Ethics, moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conduct of an activity. Specifically, aesthetics deals with the beauty and how we can use beauty to improve our lives, whereas ethics considers the morality and morals of people in the United States. Vote for me. If not, great. Go ahead and vote for the neg. My first contention that I will be offering, the first reason why this resolution is true, is the individual relevance of ethics in our lives. Let's begin with depression. The Boston University on October 7th of 2021 explains that depression rates tripled from 8.5% to 27.8% among the adult population in the United States going into the COVID pandemic. Since then, those rates have actually worsened to 32.8%. Furthermore, this is most seen among teens. The Atlantic on April 11th of 2022 explains that currently 44% of teens can be identified as depressed. Why is this? Likely because of not only social media, but the fact that we've surrounded ourselves with unattainable standards of beauty. The Atlantic article continues that social media is a likely culprit, and there is a clear detrimental effect to being surrounded by an unattainable standard of aesthetic beauty and our own, in comparison, bland life. The NPR explains on the same year that America is essentially way too obsessed with beauty. That is the issue, is that it is not what we surround ourselves with that truly makes us happy and leads to a good quality of life, but rather what we do in our life that matters. Here we turn to Claremont University, who corroborates it isn't what we do, it's how we do it. Chasing an unattainable standard of beauty, no matter how close we get to it, won't bring us true happiness or fulfillment. It's how we act in our lives that does so. In an age of instant gratification, when consumerism and technology have allowed subjective beauty to spiral, and how we can appear more beautiful than we ever have in the past, we have surrounded ourselves with aesthetically pleasing ideas constantly. Ethical living has, in contrast, never been so important. Harvard on August 15th of 2022 explains that there is concrete evidence about living morally and adhering to our standards of ethics having beneficial impacts on our lives. Those who live according to high moral standards have 21 to 51% lower rates of depression and are mentally and physically healthier. The New Delhi Times on July 23rd, 2018 explains that strong moral characteristics will lead to both happiness and success in life. The point here is that America is obsessed with beauty, this idea of aesthetics. But when it comes to what is relevant to living a good life and being fulfilled with it, it isn't the pursuit of this aesthetics. It's living morally and ethically. Whatever your individual ethical standards might be, it is that which is relevant to individual fulfillment, not an aesthetic pursuit of beauty, and thus I affirm.
Is everyone ready for, this is a questioning period now, so what do you want to do, Andrew? All right, let's begin. First off, great speech. I just have a few questions. Let's contextualize the debate, because the resolution says in contemporary society. So should we be talking about relevance, not to happiness, but to contemporary society?
Well, it says in contemporary society, so that's just talking about the here and now, not like what was more important in the 1800s.
Okay, right. But and then let's move on. But you agree then that America is obsessed with beauty?
Yes.
Okay.
Overly so, in fact.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. If everyone's ready, I'm going to go into it. I'll give you a little roadmap how I'll do it. I'm going to lay out my case, and then I'm going to address the affirmatives case. So let's begin. Now, I stand in negation of the resolution, which basically means I'm arguing that aesthetics matter the most, and my opponent already agrees to this. They said it multiple times that beauty is what's driving the United States. So my opponent really provided us with a name case, which is great, so let's get into it. The first contention is going to be that this idea of capitalism being immoral is driving this, a point that we both agree with, which is that beauty is the standard. We can look no farther than fashion. Oh, one thing I was going to ask him about is silk tie. Darn it. Anyway. It's not ethical, right? We don't care. Thousands of silk birds have to die for him to look so dapper. And it's not just silk, it's multiple other things. Earth Organization lays it out. It's a twofold argument. First, with the environmental sustainability, and then to workers' rights. So when we look at environmentally, fashion is creating an environmental poverty. Did you know, as Earth.org last updated today explains, that it takes 700 gallons of water to make one t-shirt, 2,000 to make one pair of pants. And what's worse is that these are being sourced in countries with really loose environmental regulations, so we don't even have to have it in our forefront. It is just happening all behind the scenes. The article goes on to explain is that this is not a sustainable effort because it happens every year at exponential rates. In fact, 85% of all of the clothes made in a year end up in a landfill. So we're just doing this over and over and over again. We contaminate the clean water. I could get into the statistics, but this is a shortened version of the debate. And so the second fold in this capitalism being immoral was the idea that it doesn't value its workers. And although our scope is the United States, which I won't get into a definitional debate because I care for you, but I'm talking about contemporary society, we see that workers' rights are not valued. As the Brown Political Review in December of 2021 explains, there's really just unsafe and unhygienic working conditions, ventilation and dust, along with the aesthetic dyes. And these workers are more prone to get illness and diseases, specifically breast cancer and bladder cancer. So now on to the affirmatives case. Now this is sneaky what Andrew has done for us. He's given us a value that makes it relevant to happiness rather than relevant to contemporary society. And so I'm going to argue that that's not where your focus should be with this resolution. The value, it should be relevant to contemporary society. In other words, my opponents said it themselves. We are obsessed with beauty, and it doesn't make us happy. That was my whole second point, was about how bad social media is, because we have this idea of FOMOs, and it drives us further into this obsession with aesthetics and a disregard and irrelevance for the idea of happiness. And so I guess my attack to Andrew would be, you're going to have to support this value in today's debate. And then, yeah, I think that really covers it, because I totally agree with this first point. That is actually a negation point. So in debate, we say we can absorb this point. And so it's just building the negs case even stronger. So for those reasons, I hope you are agreeing with me, the neg.
Oh, I'll stand. So beginning, great speech, Marky. Let's just dive into a few questions here. So, in your opinion, what would an affirmative case look like, if not what I provided?
Well, I'm arguing that aesthetics
I
are
understand
more
what you're
relevant. So you would then, let's flip it, ethics are more relevant, is what you're arguing.
That is what I'm arguing.
It's a hard one to argue. You've literally said that we're more obsessed with beauty than our morals, and it's causing most people to hate themselves or be depressed. So, yeah.
Okay, sure. Can you connect capitalism to philosophical pursuit of aesthetics for me?
Yes, the link is that we are consumer citizens in a way, right? Like how we spend our money reflects what we believe, and that it would be the pursuit of happiness.
That's all I have. So, 2 minutes on the clock here. And let me just go ahead and dive right in. So first, I'm going to address my opponent's case, the sole contention being capitalism. My sole response to this is the idea of social responsibility. Harvard Business in 2021 explains, the idea of corporate social responsibility has increased in importance in recent years. This is the idea that it's not so much vitally important that a corporation makes a ton of money for its shareholders, but rather how it's making its money that we should really be looking at when deciding whether or not to invest. In fact, 90% of companies in the S&P now publish CSR reports. Furthermore, consumers value it. 70% of American consumers say that it is very important for corporations to make the world a better place. And 70% of them say they make consumption decisions based on how well companies fulfill the ideals of CSR. So why is that important? Because we're talking about contemporary society. Not what was once true, which is corporations were awful. I mean, they still are. But the point is that right now they're changing because the American public wants them to. Thus, we are upholding ethics over aesthetics. Furthermore, let me go ahead and defend my interpretation. I'm proving to you that ethics is more relevant than aesthetics when it comes to the fulfillment of our lives. I'm not talking about what we engage in more, because my opponent has offered no form of quantification to how we can actually weigh our adoption of aesthetics or ethics, prefer the value of what leads to greater fulfillment in our lives. My opponent has a method to do this. That is upholding our pursuit of aesthetic beauty in whatever form that might arise. That's not what they do. What I provide to you is that we are extremely depressed and over-obsessed with beauty because aesthetics are not as relevant to our fulfillment as ethics. This is why there's such high rates of depression are being seen. I've read you evidence from Harvard and the New Delhi Times to explain specifically why ethics are more relevant and more important when it comes to fulfilling our lives than aesthetics. My opponent doesn't contest this. Supported value, prove the affirmation.
All right, well, let's get into it. This is my last speech, so I'm just going to go over the addressment that Andrew made and then give you like a solid reason that you can leave here feeling comfortable knowing that I was right. So now my opponent explains how there's a large percentage of Americans that care about this SCR number. However, the problem with my opponent's argument is that it only works in a vacuum of the United States, and that's not contemporary society. Again, it goes back to my claim about, can we be true to the resolution and to the framers' intent of the resolution? We know that the global economy exists, and in my first point, I explain how because some countries don't have that high standard of ethics and morals in their working conditions, that we have outsourced to those countries for the consumption of goods back into the United States. It's why fast fashion is made in a handful of countries, specifically China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia, and other very poor countries, right? Like, look on your tag, that's why it says that. And so we can see that my opponent's claim, while maybe within the context and the scope of the affirmatives debate might hold true, we can still go home knowing that. And so that leads me to the voter in today's debate, which is going to be this idea of capitalism being bad and us both agreeing to it, or more so that we are obsessed with beauty. I think throughout the debate, we've both been able to show that while people may consider ethics while they consume, it's not in a vacuum, and the global stage and global economy has made it such that we don't have to care. Again, it's behind the scenes. And it's killing the planet, and it's hurting the workers. And so for those reasons, we can see that our society really does value aesthetics. Unfortunately so. This is, hopefully you can end us on a better note than I did. So yeah.
That's a totally burden. Yeah, I'll just go over the round. 2 minutes on the clock, we'll begin. So again, great speech from my opponents. This has been a really fun debate, and it's the one that I didn't want to have to debate. So thank you to all who voted for it. I appreciate that one. We offered 2 voters here for you today, specifically tied into the value which I have provided, which of these is more relevant to the happiness and fulfillment of our lives. Now, my opponent says that the scope of the United States is simply too narrow, but doesn't provide any quantification for expanding that scope, right? Like, what does this look like, and why is it different outside of the United States? It's really important to consider, because just by muddying the waters doesn't mean you should automatically vote back. So let me be clear. The first reason you could be voting for the affirmative in today's debate is the idea of corporate social responsibility. When Harvard explains to you that 70% of Americans are making consumption decisions based on how these firms interact with the world and how they uphold corporate social responsibility, you can right away be seen that we are caring much more about the ethical standards of corporations than the aesthetics of what they do. This is important because US corporations operate globally. Consumers do care about these sweatshops in China, and we are caring even more as time goes on. It's an easy way to affirm. But the second is beauty. NPR tells you that we are overly concerned with beauty. And I agree with this. That's the issue, is that we put more weight on beauty. We put more relevance on it than it deserves, because that's not the path to fulfillment. This is clear. That ethics are more relevant to fulfillment in our lives than aesthetics. And that is why it is such a problem that we continue to value looks and beauty over how we live our lives. So when we're looking at fulfillment and happiness in our lives, we can clearly be affirming here. And honestly, despite how cool my tie is, that's not why you should be voting for me in today's debate. It is not what I look like, but how I have approached and won the debate. So once again, I believe because of corporate social responsibility and the overweight we put on beauty, we can clearly affirm.
Thank you both so much for a lively debate. But now, we also need to decide a winner. And because you all are really good at participating, we're going to have, through a round of applause, who you believe the winner of the debate was. If you believe the winner was on the negative, let's give a round of applause. If you believe it was on the affirmative, although Andrew's lover is in the audience, we're going to say it was the negative. So both Marky and Andrew, along with our other debaters, are going to be debating in an online national tournament this upcoming Friday. So please wish all of them good luck. along with all of our team as they head off to Santa Ana, California next week. So thank you all so very much for coming out this evening. To all of you in here, to all of you in there in virtual land as well. I hope you all have a great night. Thank you all so much, and roll tide.